right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the VRML Season 8 Championship Semi-Finals. I am your caster today, Noman with a 4, and I am joined with a plethora, a slew, a murder of casters. We have got the illustrious NightFiree. NightFiree, how you doing today?
I am excellent today. I'm looking forward to some high-quality matchups.
Oh, we have got that in spades. And the man who's going to be bringing it to you with me, at least for the first matchup, is Mr. Sleepy with 2 3s. How are you doing, Sleepy?
Good morning, everybody. I am doing fantastic, Noman. Thank you so much for having me. We are set for some knockdown brawls here this afternoon and this morning, so I am ready to get going, but I am still putting together a couple of facts, so I'm going to let you head back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have one more. The man who has been carrying most of the round robins and the Challenger Cups with me and a few others, Mr. Chatting Parrot himself. How are you doing, Chatting?
I don't know what lustrous means, but hey.
It's lost in translation. So we have had a fantastic championship series. If you guys are just tuning in now, you have missed truly some unbelievable quality Onward games that we were casting last week and the week before. If you're unfamiliar, we have been running the postseason for the last 3 weeks, give or take. It started with the Challenger Cup, which was every team below rank 7, which was a locked-in rank, fighting for that 8th and final spot inside of the round robin championship. So that was how many teams do we have play? I want to say 26, I think, maybe a little bit more than that.
That's about right.
So we had a huge knockdown drag out brawl over 2 days. The two teams coming out on top were Chatting Parrot. You want to let the people know who won the Challenger Cup?
Yeah, somebody won.
Well, clearly we're already burned out on Onward action. It was Rome and the 5 Horsemen.
All right, yeah, that was Rome won.
Yeah,
Rome won.
So
sad,
Rome,
but it was so.
Did you just say Rogue One?
No,
I was just watching that last night. What do we?
So Rome did in the end win between the two of them. 5 Horsemen obviously taking the Saturday Challenger Cup A, and Challenger Cup B was taken by the Rome. So it was a pretty solid matchup between them. I remember the game was a little interesting. They had some interesting issues with roster and a few things like that. Yeah. But in the end, neither of those teams actually ended up sticking around, because the week after we had run our round robin, Group A and Group B, Saturday and Sunday. And that's kind of where we started getting into the heat of the meat, as it were. So we had in Group A, Beginners, Mayhem, G-Men. That was the first set. And then my apologies. Beginners, Mayhem, G-Men, and Danglers were the 4 in that group. And then in the second group, we had Global Chem, Rome, SMC, and Vikings duking it out. So I'm going to throw it over to Sleepy. Can you give the folks just a quick rundown of how that series ended up?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, basically all of our teams here this afternoon have come from our group stages. No one managed to pull a Cinderella story out of the Challenger Cup, though Rome was poised to do so pretty well. I mean, they've been playing very well throughout this series. They ended up beating the 5 Horsemen out of the Challenger Cup final in order to get them into the Group B stage. But overall, it was our Group B qualifiers who end up winning it out on both days to get themselves here. So we'll go a little bit into it about each of the teams that are here to give everyone a little bit of a rundown on what's going on today. So we'll start off with Beginners, who are our top ranked team here in the group anyways. They finished second place overall with a win-loss rating of 13-3, so a very strong showing. In the Group A stage, they went 4 maps to 2, only giving up 2 maps there, placing them here directly into the semis. Again, they're top team in the top team in the EU right now, and the best bet for the EU to take this as our winner today, pending no crazy Viking super secret strats or anything like that. Next, we have G-Men. Finished third place overall. They had a win-loss ratio of 11-2, so another strong showing throughout the season. Very consistent. Very few lapses in judgment, I guess you could call it. Group A stage, they gave up 2 maps to their opponents, similar to their companions, the beginners out of the Group A, and winning 4, so placing them directly into this stage, as we mentioned. They're the second place NA team behind Globochem, who were already knocked out of this tournament by the teams in the Group B stage. And they're a super solid tactical team, in my opinion. It's a tough call, but they're my pull for winning this whole thing this weekend. But on that same note, SMC finished 4th overall in our standings over this season. Their win-loss ratio is 12-4, and so far in the tournament, they've only had to compete in the Group B stage, and they've taken 5 maps out of their 6, only giving up 1, placing them, of course, directly into the semifinal stage. They're our third place NA team, but hot on the rise again after a rocky season last season, and they are looking tough. Seeing them in that Group B stage, Noman was talking about it a little bit with some of us who weren't casting, and he was just like, I mean, you're right. You don't know how right you are, man. SMC looks like they're on fire, and I believe it. And then rounding out our group here today, we have the Vikings. They finished 5th place in our overall rankings, of course, putting them directly into our group stages. Their win-loss ratio was 13-2, so again, another strong showing out of our team here in the group stage, or in the semifinals. Group stage, they did the same as their companions. It was like we had mirrored competitors in both series, also taking 5 of their 6 maps, only giving up 1, placing them straight into this stage behind SMC. They are a top place EU team. I'm sorry, I was kind of still writing notes as Noman threw to me, so I don't know their exact EU placement. I think they're second in the EU.
I believe that's correct.
And they are looking very, very strong. I wouldn't be surprised if they did manage to pull an upset, or at least knock one of our kind of more favored picks for the finals tomorrow out in this stage, but we'll see. They've got 3 maps to do it in today in order to make their spot for tomorrow, and we'll just have to see.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that quick rundown. So we now bring ourselves into the semifinals that we are about to watch, and I'm going to ask a few leading questions before, well, sorry, not leading questions. I'm going to ask some interview questions to a few of our casters here just to get a feel for it. So, NightFiree, we'll start with you. In terms of who advanced from round robins to semifinals, who surprised you the most? Despite, you may not have seen the games, but based on what we just talked about, what do you think is the most surprising?
Well, I mean, just coming from an NA dominant perspective, I'm definitely surprised to see Vikings up in this list of teams right now. It's something we'd more characteristically reserve for a team like Globochem or somebody that's been vying for that top slot, but to have them gone and have Vikings here going up against G-Men for our first set of matches, it's interesting. I don't really have a good grasp on what I can expect out of Vikings, but I do know that G-Men are going to bring the consistency that they've brought this entire season, because their roster is rock solid.
Makes sense, yeah. I agree. It is going to be a series of interesting matches. I don't think it really mattered which way you shuffled these 4 either. Just the way they turned out, I think any one of these matchups could have been compelling.
I would say that if it was Vikings beginners, it's going to be a tried and true battle. You know what I mean? Vikings and beginners have squared off so many times on the EU side of things that if it does come down to that for the finals, I'm going to have to lean towards beginners there, just because that EU advantage. They're the top team in EU. They've beat Vikings regular season, so I don't think anything could really deter them from doing that in the finals.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see how the G-Men game shakes out.
Yeah.
Parrot, let me ask you, of the 4 teams that we've got in the semis playing today, which of them do you think which of them played the best and feels the most deserving of that position? I want your synopsis on who played the most solid in the round robins and deserves their spot
so
here.
So mean, we're giving me all the hard questions here. I have no time to think about, but I mean, the top 2 teams, like beginners, they did play overall always solid. You cannot say they played. I don't know what to say actually. Hard to say really. I mean, the most deserving team when it comes to, in my opinion, is Vikings, as they strive coming from the, let's say, top bottom, so they're the lowest tier team of all four, but generally came up with the, let's say, a best performance, overall increase in the performance. I personally want to root for Vikings, although I do see the beginners tradition to live on. So I want to root for Vikings, and I say they had the best improvement overall coming from down under, let's say, but it's probably going to be beginners.
Okay. Yeah, and that was kind of a question. I was leading to the Vikings, really, because they were, in my opinion, in this caster's opinion, sort of the best overall improvement and showing that I have seen in any team in quite some time. Their style of play and the way that they handled sort of Globochem's final frenetic pushes was very impressive. It was something I had not seen basically since the last time Globo and beginners had played. You know, the way beginners can sometimes deftly handle Globochem's aggression. It was interesting to see another team find a way to handle that. So
yeah, I know you can't see me, but I'm nodding right now, so just so you're informed.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, now we are going to be getting into our semifinals matches here in just about 20 minutes, but before we do that, I'm going to go down the line and we're going to put in our caster predictions. Everybody loves this part. No caster curses this season, we promise. We swore an oath. So we are going to start with Mr. Sleepy himself. So let's start with the G-Man Vikings game. Who do you take in this series and why?
I take G-Men because they've been very strong lately. They've not been doing any roster changes. You know, any of their players who haven't been able to play haven't been playing. They've been playing consistent starting fives. They've got LAN experience, and in their last LAN experience, they almost took down Globochem live on the internet. So my pull is for them, though I'm not counting Vikings out. I think we're definitely going to see a good game. We'll probably see them possibly even take a map out of the series, but I think we're going to end up needing to go to that third map to see who's going to come out of this first matchup. So I'm going to go with G-Men, but it's not going to be easy. Vikings are definitely going to make it tough.
Great. Mr. Parrot, what's your pick?
I'd say, I mean, I want the Vikings to win. I am not impartial. But I suppose they will have to, if they're not using one of their very unorthodox strategies, especially coming to smoke usage, G-Man is probably going to win. So
you're
I want them to win.
You're taking Vikings on a prayer. Okay. NightFiree, what about you?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Gonna go with my former and past team, G-Men. Just watching them at DreamHack.
Just playing favorites, everybody.
Yeah, it was so like I was fist pumping in front of people that didn't know what was, it was. I was super stoked to see.
Yeah, I was definitely reacting at the gate of at DreamHack when plays were going down on the screen because we did have the streams up. But yeah, I feel you there, NightFiree.
I love seeing my squad and my good buddies do well, so I'm gonna be rooting for them today and taking this first set of matches against Vikings. And then I don't know what's gonna happen with SMC and beginners, but I would.
So we're gonna get into that in just 1 second.
Yeah. Okay.
So my
spoiler.
My prediction. I'm gonna toss my hat in the ring. We're gonna split this bad boy right down the middle because I'm gonna call Vikings on this one. I'm gonna say that there's gonna be some surprises waiting around the corners for G-Men. I think the way Vikings handled Globochem was telling. I think that is going to be seen here today. So I'm going to split us right down the middle. So Sleepy and NightFiree will be going G-Men, and me and Parrot are going to take the Vikings side. So with that said, let's talk about the second matchup of the day, which we haven't discussed too much. It is going to be SMC Tactical versus Beginners, another NAEU showdown. Let's start with NightFiree since you brought it up. What are your thoughts on that match, and who do you think's gonna take it?
Yeah, I don't. I think I'm trying to think historically how many times these teams have played each other, and I think it's very, very few. You look at Beginners Global Chem, and they've squared off a handful of times just because of the nature of things, the Button Cup, the it's past season finals. SMC and Beginners, I don't think they've had as much playtime together. I do know they've obviously squared away in the past,
Twice
but
this
yeah,
season.
okay, yeah, so not a lot. I would expect SMC to be bringing in some pretty powerful strategies against Beginners. They've been looking like a whole different kind of animal in this postseason. They're obviously on point with their strategy. Their practice has been doing them fantastic. Like, I know they're putting in the scrims and the time to make sure that they're all honed in on their strats. But beginners are beginners. They've got that tried and true method of pushing and how they advance forward. SMC is gonna be ready for that, so I'm gonna have to lean into the hands of SMC unless beginners start to do something new and creative.
Yeah, I would not count them out in terms of new and creative solutions to problems, but they did struggle with Mayhem. I will say that watching a couple of those matches, a couple of those rounds they had in the round robins, they definitely felt more open. They were a little bit more vulnerable, I think, than they have been in the past. And I don't know, it could be SMC's time to take it. But Sleepy, what do you think between this matchup? Who's going to be your pick and why?
Beginners SMC. Wow, a lot of history matchups there between them in situations like this. History tells us beginners are going to take it. But God, I got to tell you, after watching SMC claw their way back up to the top after having that rocky season last season and the way they played that group stage last weekend, I'm going to say SMC are going to take it. And again, I'm going to put it by a narrow margin type deal. I don't know. Maybe they'll blow them out because, like you said, Noman, they'll be ready. Or like NightFiree said, they'll be kind of ready for that tried and true beginner's tactical approach. So we'll have to see. Maybe they can blow it out, but I think it's going to be them by kind of a narrow margin.
Okay, absolutely fair. And Parrot, what about you? SMC beginners, who do you take?
Me, as an educated man, already studied the history, and it is, as I mentioned, twice, but not this season, but in general. They faced off first, like the first season, and then this season yet again. And this season, SMC Tactical won against beginners 10-9. I can sort of cite beginners' highlights. They wrote, beginners were tragic. So I'd say SMC Tactical, if they can repeat that success, they probably going to take beginners down. But beginners are a historical winning team. They took down so many tournaments. Hard to say. I'm probably going to do a coin flip someday, but I'm just gonna say I keep my voice out of it. I'm just gonna say no.
No.
Yeah, you gotta pick. Yeah, you gotta pick. That's the tradition of the casters. You've got to make your choice.
I'm very sorry, Sleepy. I'm gonna go for beginners.
Beginners is the choice for Parrot.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, from my side, I agree with pretty much everything both of or all three of you guys have been saying. I am gonna say that 10-9 is a very tight score line. It may feel different as a win when you're watching it, or definitely when you're playing it, but 10-9 is still relatively close in terms of if you're just talking about who takes what round from who. If we're just leaning into SMC because they may be able to capture lightning in a bottle a second time, I'm inclined to say that that's not likely going to be the case. But that being said, the matchup was exciting. I mean, if anybody remembers that cast, there was some fantastic plays on both sides. I don't think it's going to go easily for either one of these teams. I expect no blowout and no map that goes less than 3 points on each side.
Yeah.
But
at this stage, we really should, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to lean beginners purely based on the fact that they have had this sort of stress and challenge season after season, and they have overcome quite a bit. They have upset Globochem in a few different series, being far behind. I feel like they are the comeback kids. I just hope SMC doesn't come into it with too much hubris and focuses on their gameplay and has good cohesion. That's what every team needs. I think they have a chance, but I'm going to give it to beginners just because they've sort of done it again and again and again. It's hard to take it away from the guys who have shown it in the past. So that is going to do it for our predictions and for the bulk of our pre-show. We do have to step away for a few minutes while we get set up, get the teams into the lobbies, and get everything going for you guys at home. But I am going to go one more time around, and if you guys have any final thoughts before we kick things off, let's start with NightFiree. What do you got for the folks? Anything?
NA Finals, baby. It's going to happen.
Wishful thinking. I like it. Channing Parrot, anything else for the folks before we get into our series?
Yeah, either use multi-stream or you don't talk to me.
It's just one cast. There's no multi-stream.
What are you talking about?
It's just the one channel.
Multi-stream.
All right, yeah, just watch the one channel on multi-stream.
So nice. You got to watch it twice, baby. You got to watch
that baby twice on both monitors. Fantastic call. Thank you, Parrot. And Sleepy, anything before you and I get ready for this series?
No, I'm just ready to see what happens. It's season 8 semifinals. We've had 8 seasons, ladies and gentlemen. All we expect from anything going forward in this championship is just going to be fire. So with that, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on these teams, and they better give me some hot, burning matches today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are going to take a short, let's call it 10 to 15 minute break while we get everything ready for you. Start time is in about 9 minutes, not accounting for our delay. But we will get everybody ready. We want to make sure all our ducks are in a row before we start bringing the series to you. And we will start as soon as we can, so don't go anywhere. There is Season 8 semifinals for Onward happening right freaking here. Almost the entire day. Stick around. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Season 8 Championship Semifinal. First match of the day. We have got G-Men and Vikings coming at you here in just a few moments. But before that, we'll introduce the casting desk. Today, we've got a couple of co-casters. First off, Sleepy, how you doing?
Heyo, I am ready to go.
Yeah, that is exactly the type of energy I needed here. And the man behind the laughter, Mr. NightFiree with 2 E's. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here to bring the calm and cool collective mindset that will analyze and dissect the high-level plays.
Ooh, did you just read that off your resume? I think you just read it off. That was a fantastic lead-in. Yeah, so we have got 2 co-casters on the desk. We'll be breaking our analysis up. There's just too much action for 2 guys to capture it. So we brought in a third, and especially an expert on the G-Men side of the house. So we are excited that everybody's tuned in here with us. Let's just get quickly into our bans because everybody's filing into the lobby. I don't want to hold them for too long. So the away ban was first. Vikings was the first one to choose their ban. And they have chosen to ban, sadly, Quarantine is going to be the first map out. I know.
Well,
I know. What are your thoughts on that ban from the Viking side? Does that make sense in this context?
Yes, it makes sense. It just makes me sad. G-Men are very strong on Quarantine. I think Vikings recognize that. I think they've watched enough VODs on this team now by this point, knowing that they were going to be matched up against them to know how to play this team. And banning Quarantine against G-Men is definitely a smart move.
NightFiree?
it is it's an interesting ban. It's, G-Men are, none of these teams are weak on a map. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Vikings can play any map. G-Men can play any map. But I do think G-Men tend to favor the Quarantine pick. Usually if you're in a best of 3 series, they'll opt to sort of pick that if they are the away team as the second map. It's a pretty common one to see come in there in a G-Men series. So I'm not surprised that it's gone, but I don't think it's going to be something that'll terribly negatively affect the G-Men squad, but it's a good ban. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is a map that I have a feeling that it's NA favored. I think a lot of NA teams love Quarantine and play it far better than many of the EU teams that I've seen. There are some exceptions, but
if I had to say, I think it's probably the play styles. You know what I mean? There's always been the differing NA-EU sort of fast versus calculated play style. And I just think that Quarantine lends itself to being a little bit quicker paced, getting up into the action a little bit sooner than sort of waiting around and lingering. Although we do see beginners do decent on that map as well.
right. So the home ban then on the side of the G-Men is Tanker, and I'm going to need your help in understanding that one, NightFiree. So let's start with you. What do you think about that ban?
Well, I think it kind of comes back into the comfort level of things. Quarantine being a ban that G-Men favor, it getting or a map that G-Men favor, that getting taken away, and then Tanker probably being a map that they do not enjoy. I don't know if it's a specific ban against Vikings, although if memory serves correctly, Vikings are pretty good on Tanker.
Oh, they took Globochem 4-0 on it in that round robin.
So I think it's a combo platter of things. They're not something that they favor, but then they also see the threat that Vikings can pose to them on that map.
Sleepy, what about you? What are your thoughts on that Tanker ban?
I mean, there's a shield in Vikings freaking team logo, for gosh sakes. So I mean, then again, though, the G-Men also, the man usually always rocks a shield on this map as well. So I don't know. Maybe they're just worried that Vikings have better shield play. I don't know. It doesn't, because G-Men are strong there too. So it's not like they must just feel that they must just think Vikings are better than them there, because in my opinion, G-Men are perfectly fine contenders on Cargo. So to see that as a ban from them, it confuses me a little bit.
Yeah, we will see how it pans out, and that makes the first map choice all the more interesting in that map 1 is slated to be Cargo. So Cargo, for those that have not been around in the league for very long, was the old Tanker. which is sort of a funny way to think about it.
Wow, I just confused my maps. So all that analysis I just gave you was based on cargo, not tanker.
Well, good.
So tanker, yeah, perfectly fine ban, whatever. G-Man, smart to do it. Let's go.
I heard you say cargo, and I'm like, well, you know,
Yeah.
just,
I clearly
well, to
did
your
not.
point, Noman. This is the old, or tanker is the old cargo. So
Yeah.
I get it's okay, Sleepy. It's all right, bud.
I'm old school, man. I'm OG.
Yeah, that's right. 2 OG in this
You
case.
young pups, come see me. I'm that old dog sitting on the porch, bro.
Yeah. So the cargo match is interesting because it definitely goes the way. I mean, G-Men chose it. It is they are Marsoc to start, and it is the place where we see the man and Zach Fontaine with that strong shield LMG combo that they use all over the map. I mean, we've been seeing it pretty much for the entire season, and it has been strong. It's been formidable. So I'm curious what Vikings shield play will be in response to that. Is it as strong? You know what I mean? It's like a battle of the shields on this small map to start off
And you
with.
know, I think it's really important to mention that while we're talking about all this shield play, we're on a old build of the game. So if you're familiar with Onward, we're not on the most updated version. We're on 1.6, and what that means is that the shield isn't, I would say, quote unquote, nerfed like it is in the new update. It still has a bit of a wider range in terms of how much it can defend and block bullets. So something important to remember: if you are expecting these shields to be a little bit easier to counter, they're going to be just as deadly as they used to be throughout the entirety of this season.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting setup. I am excited to see it, and we are not long from start. I have given the teams the green light, so we are going to be kicking off the series here in just about 15 seconds. I am like jittery. I feel like I'm playing right now. You know, it's going to be such a good day of games. It's just 2 games. They're going to be so just tense. I'm already excited.
I've had too much coffee and not enough Onward action, Noman. Let's get into this stuff. Get this lobby going, 404. It's time for us to get into this Onward action.
Oh boy. So I'm excited to see how Vikings defense plays here, because I've seen the G-Men offense far too many times.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just got sighed off. He just sighed and then continued on with his own.
I don't have to acknowledge everything
that's
Sleepy
Sleepy.
says.
That guy.
This is what happens when you wake a bunch of West Coast casters up at 7 in the morning to bring you this hot action. And bring you that hot action we will, because gameplay is underway, ladies and gentlemen. We have got... Oh, actually...
Wait, what was it?
There we go. Woo, almost had a
Okay, we
video
got
issue.
Vikings over here singing in their spawn. Singing Mr. Sunshine to the tune of Mr. Sandman.
What a
I
weird
would
song.
not expect that.
Wow.
Boy, quick, brass to mouth, finds Kruorzi on that dangerous peak. I mean, that's such a hard peak to make against teams like this.
Well, it's also something I would kind of expect, that sort of precision from G-Men. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. That's why I'm saying they're my pick for this weekend, because it's that level of precision that they can bring that really puts them ahead of a lot of their competitors.
Man and Zach Fontaine taking their time here in the tunnel, making the approach. The C4 going off a little too early. Vikings not quite getting the eyes on they need to try to find those early picks, but clearly they were ready for the man and Zach Fontaine. That is what that C4 was. that had to be exactly what that C4 was for. Was for this exact play. And Zach Fontaine, the man, setting some rounds down, but Spoilty's going to be the first one that finds one for the Vikings side as 404 goes down in the far east.
Yeah, Spoilty set up for another cross angle, but he's still watching behind. He's still looking for that someone to wrap around from the backside. Miracle Dev is actually looking for the flank over on the opposite side buildings. Now as Zach Fontaine picks up one on Uncle Sam, Vikings go down to 3. Spoilty now going to be looking at that cross-check angle as Miracle Dev runs around from behind.
I mean, Spoilty's got potential.
I got the flank.
I was just going to say, he's got a potential for the flank, but Miracle Dev is assigned now to
Yeah.
watching that flank. He's going to have a harder time popping that. Spoilty should have heard that call out, though.
This is a really interesting bottled up G-Men right now. They're stuck trying to come out of that far side tunnel, and here comes some nades. Oh, just a flash. I mean, they're lucky that there's not
That
any
one's a
more
nade.
utility. Yep.
That's Brass. I knew
nice
it.
Toss.
Yeah, nice toss there from Nalik. And he's so happy as he kind of rotated back from his old position. He was just once again just singing that tune of Mr. Sandman, just bum 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 bum, and he runs as he runs back. So obviously Spirit's not down yet, even though they were down a man. Another nade comes out from the side of Vikings as they try and take it up. But yeah, as NightFiree said, they're kind of bottled up here. And oh, Miracle Dev almost gets popped in the back from Nalik as he runs around trying to get that res on Brass him out.
That grenade from Spoilty could have been so good to finish off Brass, but unfortunately hit the railing on the top roof. Nolik with the quick refrag onto Miracle Dev is going to start evening things out again. We're in a 3v3.
That was interesting. Miracle was looking straight at Nolik. I don't know how Nolik got that kill as Zach scoops up one onto Mantis, and here comes the shield push from the man. Another kill going to Brastamouth and Spoilty, a trade in the center, and we're into a 2v1.
Yeah, this is getting real close. 2v1, Nolik, the last one left. He's got to be checking this smoke. If they get inside, this could be a cap to start, and Nolik not going to be on the inside. Zach Fontaine is looking for...
Oh, that's the kill. Oh, wow. And in the smoke, Nolik manages to find his opponent and get the kill onto Zach Fontaine, who was poised to strike the objective. Now the man's going to be on the other side running a flank route. He's going to be coming up on the backside of Nolik. Will Nolik be able to see him or pay attention to where he's coming from? The man's just got to be careful now and watch his speed, watch his sound. He just needs to make sure. And as we are on this older version, the man will be using a shield that he is probably much more comfortable with right now. It's a bit wider. And of course,
there's a possibility for a cap here. If the man sneaks up right now, gets behind this crate, behind objective, not anymore.
Yeah, Nolik's too mobile. He's trying too hard. And wow, Nolik with an amazing kill. Baby. And he gets the kill from the shield player. I kind of paused there to let him get his chant out, and I was not disappointed in that. But Vikings take our first round here on Cargo in a 1-0 fashion against G-Men.
Yeah, 3 kills there for Nolik, 2 for Spoilty. Obviously, that last kill on the shield. Man, what a way to end that first round. NightFiree, what are your thoughts on that G-Men play? Where did they go wrong?
I think they lingered just a bit too long. They had the early advantage in that matchup. They got themselves into a nice 4v3, and then they sort of stalled trying to get out of the tunnel. I don't know if they should have used... I think the right strat would have been to dump the utility a little bit earlier, since they had, I think, 5 or 6 smokes come out between the two of them at the end of that push. So it's just, they were ready to make their move and push forward. They just did it so late, and they weren't able to capitalize on their advantages.
Yeah, I was interested by the fact that Zach Fontaine and the man split up. You know, that's like the tag team duo. I'm a little shocked that they would decide to split their resources like that at the end. Perhaps they thought they could just overwhelm the last remaining defender, but the man wasn't in position before Zach pushed into the smoke, and it just didn't pan out quite the way I think they were hoping. So we'll see what they can do to continue staying in the series, because round 2 is now going to be underway.
Wow, I mean, what a great start to this this series, though. You know, a nice, good, solid back and forth. Such an early set of kills there as well. I don't know what sort of defense G-Men are going to break out here. I'm curious if they're going to get a little bit aggressive and put 2, it looks like, maybe up into that front center area. The man's certainly charging forward. He might run into some early action.
Early action indeed. Vikings being having about the similar aggression as G-Men coming out, but they are not putting 2 up the tunnel. They don't have any shields out on the deck. It's all riflemen all the time, all day. The man taking a peeky hole there by the ammo crates in the center, but camera just gonna snap back randomly. Looked like Mantis was the one who was at the time looking over in his direction.
Ooh, I mean, there are shots traded into common spots here, back and forth. So far, the only one to find it is Spoilty, ready for the man in that position. That is tape study right there, folks, at its best.
Yeah, that was 100% a blind fire spot, and we're into a bit of a trade there. Uncle Sam and Zach Fontaine both getting scooped up, but Spoilty absolutely just blind fired into that corner. He had no idea of that location, I think, and Krorzy finding another.
And now Vikings commanding.
Wow.
Mantis finds another, and now it's one left. Brass, the only one on the objective remaining, and Vikings will take it with 3 up and a revive available. Unbelievable. Who could have guessed that the EU team here would be the faster cargo play?
And that aggression paid off for them in spades. Not only were they ready for each spot, like NightFiree said, that's a tape watch. They definitely did their homework on their first opponent of the championship series this weekend. They know where to look for these guys, and it's showing. So that aggressive push with the right pre-fire checks, they were ready for that the entire time. They walked it in for a nice 2-0 lead here on cargo.
Yeah, great start for them, but I'm not sure what... I mean, they lost their forward defender quickly in the man, and I think that is what... I mean, just losing that sort of tip of the spear, that information...
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, as soon as you go down a man on cargo, you are at a much larger disadvantage than you would be in many other maps.
Their back line was oddly positioned too, and this objective, especially that objective where it's behind the crate, there's no reason for this team to be looking for picks in the center. You know, that's super aggressive defensive play there where you're trying to grab angles on the early push coming in through the middle half of the map. There's no need for that. You can hold tight angles and wait for them to cross completely exposed out towards your objective, and then you can take some fire. And there's no shield either, so the risk of waiting for a shield to get into that danger close range is not even there. So an odd choice for G-Men, especially early in this series, to expose themselves and risk trying to look for picks there, but Vikings certainly finding the kills in very quick fashion. I'm curious if they will now maybe apply the aggressive gas pedal on defense and try and keep pushing this lead up 3-0.
Yeah, it is going to be this southeast objective that G-Men will be attacking. Vikings now on the defense on the opposite side, and we'll see. I'm going to stick along with the man and Zach Fontaine as they do their, I'm going to call this a fact-finding mission.
G-Men trying to get aggressive on their point positions, and Zach Fontaine, the man duo, will manage to find one on Krorzy out in the middle. Nalik will be right there, maybe trying to check the repeat. I don't know if that's a smart idea. The man and Zach are going to be looking that way. He's going to chuck a grenade. Grenade is going to be of no effect, however. G-Men respond with one back, also no effect.
It's so hard to get a nade into that doorway and not completely expose yourself. You basically have to like blind toss a nade around a corner and have it somehow go perfectly into the door. So it's a good play from Zach and the man to stack a rifle on top of the shield, and Nalik's looking for some pickups through a tight sliver through the crate there.
Yeah, and Dev is going back for the look through after taking the shots, and the angle that Nalik had, there was no way he was going to be able to see him on the move and take the shots. Nalik will find the man. That's the shield member down. Now Zach's got to get the refrag. He's not going to be able to. A Miracle Dev going to be taking the rush to Nalik. Nalik going to find a Miracle Dev, however. And now Vikings are commanding this round as well. And here comes Zach Fontaine now with the shield into the tank. He's going to be able to find Nalik, however, and even things back out. Now it's a 3v1 with 4 minutes still on the clock. 4 minutes plus, in fact, 4.5.
I mean, 2 G-Men dropped right there. Confirms from Zach Fontaine coming out. He did hear the call-outs. The trade will come out, and Vikings are up 3-0 in this first map already. Those last 2 pickups, 404 and Miracle Dev going down in quick succession left Zach, I think, with a false sense of confidence, perhaps. I don't know if he knew exactly how many people were up, but he may have thought he was coming in with 3 and then ended up pushing that all on his lonesome.
I don't know. That was intense. G-Men tried to react with some aggression of their own, and it backfired hard. Vikings were so ready for it, it appeared.
I don't think the man, I mean, the man has to know that C4 is strategically placed around this map specifically to deal with his positions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they attack that specific building, that mid 3 that we call in Blaze. In that mid 3 building, that is where he goes. That, like, it's a play that I can call before we get into the round. And I'm surprised that he has not adjusted it as a result, right? Like, if other teams know you're going to be doing it, you have to know someone's going to be ready in semifinals for you to do the same. I would have imagined they would have found a different approach that could have maybe worked better. But clearly they had a C4 stacked and ready for him, and they were able to deal with that shield quickly, which, I mean, automatically puts everybody there in a disadvantage. These sort of
a weird push.
Yeah, these misplays are uncharacteristic of G-Men on Cargo. I mean, this is not a scoreline I could have predicted.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, we talked about it in pre-show that this was going to be like a nail biter. Vikings weren't going to make it easy for them, but G-Men should still be able to take it out. And we're seeing kind of the opposite. We're seeing a precision G-Men playing kind of sloppy right now, in this caster's opinion. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll turn it up for map 2 and 3. Maybe they didn't get a whole lot of warm-up time. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but
it is hard when you have to switch builds and there's no one playing on the old build. Krorzy, though, is going to shoot Vikings in the foot as his first step out. 404 will find the punishing blow for him, and the man in Nolik will trade out. Nolik winning the trade overall. Zach Fontaine and Mantis here. Mantis ready for Zach's position, and he's already on the inside of objective.
That's cap potential right there. If the Miracle Dev goes down, which he does, Brass them out, though, going to find refrag on the Mantis. That was the cap save right there. 404 needs to fall back maybe a little bit and get the res. Never mind, Brass them out is there. Oh, no!
Wow.
Loyalty will spoil that res, but Brass them out will be immediately ready on the hammer with the refrag, and G-Men find their first round here on Cargo to stay alive. And coincidentally, also lose a player in the process.
Yeah,
from
the Vikings shot him so hard he fell off the internet. So we're gonna wait and make sure that player gets back into the lobby. But in that time,
make sure he's okay. That's a hard fall.
NightFiree, what was different there? What made them get that round that felt almost the same? What do you think was their special sauce there?
Nothing different. It's just they got the trades that time. They got the kills instead of Vikings finding those early picks. I just don't. This is a real odd Cargo series right now. Neither team is taking a real tactical approach to their objective push. It feels like Vikings there really sort of flung themselves at a really quick pace. I mean, granted, they almost had a opportunity. Spoilty was real close to getting tucked in and being a threat to the objective, but G-Men just kind of scrambling, running around pretty, not really getting, you don't see a lot of G-Men proning right now. They're not lying down, being patient, waiting for the player to cross their line of sight. They're looking for picks, and so are Vikings. And so we're getting this very fast back and forth where you have rapid trades and, fast double kills, triple kills coming in for these players, because it's just it's just a fist fight right now. It's basically two heavyweights standing in front of each other throwing blows.
Yeah, I also wonder if Krorzy had not kicked that off with a Vikings team kill, if that would have been a different series. If they did not come at that objective with 4 up, I think it could have been a 4-0. I don't know if their push would have necessarily overwhelmed G-Men, but I don't know. It would have been pretty close. But we will see if G-Men can stay alive here, as we're already into round 5 of map 1. G-Men now on the offense. I mean, you've got to be thinking cap, right? You want to equalize. It's so difficult on this map to come back for, 3 rounds in a row. I don't know how they're going to manage to pull this off.
They had a good play on this objective when it was on the other side of the cargo crate, and they managed to get, I think it was Miracle, inside the objective room. So if they
would have been a cap for this position.
Right. So if they can replicate that success, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 4-stack over on this tunnel entrance or exit again. And I mean, look at this. Brass Mouse so ready for Spoilty to be in that room, pre-nading it, making sure nobody's inside. They're very aware.
More oomph off his bounce there.
Yeah, and now what's interesting is now you're seeing this caution. You're seeing this trepidation from the G-Men, more so than we saw in the first round when they came at this objective. Now they're further back in the tunnel, waiting for the C4. Wonder if the man here is going to try to make... Yeah, he's trying to make a little bit of noise and see if he can bait out the C4. Vikings going to be playing more patiently. You know what I mean? Like, both teams have sort of slowed up and backed off, which is an interesting
Well, for
here.
both teams, it's like do or die. Vikings want to get this round to close out this first map with a nice score line, and G-Men want to stay alive in this first map. So G-Men have everything on the line here, not to lose it, and Vikings have everything in order to win it and not give up any more rounds to G-Men, which will eventually help in determining, you know, later on in the matchups who is our victor.
Yeah, absolutely. That smoke coming out from the tunnel is going to be pretty useless for the G-Men side, and the smoke thrown onto the objective
redirect.
Oh, that redirect actually does help a little bit.
Yeah.
Spoilty gonna come out and find Brass to mouth as he peeks and hears flank, and now he might have a line on 404, but if he keeps up those loud callouts, sounds like 404 hears him. He's looking that direction.
Yeah, 404 has made it quite deep into enemy lines here. If he stays relatively quiet, he could catch rotations as the man and Zach Fontaine push out of the tunnel. I think Spoilty would be remiss if he didn't start pushing back to the middle, and 404 could easily capitalize on that play. Miracle Def sending a few rounds to Spoilty. May make that sooner rather than later. And 404 is definitely looking for this pick. I mean, he is watching this building in a big way. Things have slowed up again. 2.5 minutes gone.
That landing container. Yep.
Working with the man down. The man and Zach Fontaine really just establishing their battlefield, where everybody is, what they need to do.
404 is in a tough spot here. He's got Spot behind him from Spoilty. He's got Mantis looking the other way. If he tries to come out of this room, he is pretty much a ghost.
It is going to be... Oh, go ahead, Nightfire.
We're seeing G-Men back off the tunnel approach. They're shifting that shield around. Maybe they're worried about Spoilty. Yeah. Everybody's trained in on 404. He made those early shots. Spoilty and nearly everyone turned and directed their attention there. They're surprised, certainly, that 404 managed to get there. And now they're very worried about him being there, and it opens up some lanes of approach for Zach and the man, who are trying to sort of suss out where Spoilty is inside this room.
404 making the down sounds there, trying to fool the defense. I don't think anyone's gonna buy what you're selling, 404. 2 minutes left on the clock. G-Men have to find their approach. I mean, the man and Zach Fontaine, not exactly the fastest duo when it comes to this the shield play. It is definitely pays off to be more methodical, but when you run close on time, you're gonna have an interesting problem to deal with. Spoilty there, almost finding shots on Zach. Zach returning a little bit, not.
A minute 40 left, and this Spoilty position has been so good. Miracle Dev's charging it.
And that was not the right choice, as Spoilty, ready and listening, is able to pick up that kill. And G-Men now on the back foot, 1.5 minutes, 3 left versus the full Vikings defense.
Yeah, this one Spoilty position here is stopping all of G-Men. Wow, Mantis finding the man, looking for Spoilty. Zach's going to try and get the res. He can't get it in time. And I mean, G-Men can't get past this center crate. Zach finally picks up Spoilty. And that opens up at least a little bit for them to push forward.
Zach's been really backpacking here on this first map for G-Men. He's pulled in clutch a couple of times. He managed to get far forward. Oh, almost gets picked up there as he goes to finish off Spoilty. But otherwise, he's been doing quite well. Let's see. He's got, well, 1 kill, but no, it looks like he might have been our last guy. He was the one who fell off the internet in the last round.
Yep.
Yeah, 404 now rotating back out. They've got 35 seconds. There's too many Vikings to deal with in this time frame. They've got to do something, and they've got to do it now if they want any chance to stay in this first map. Otherwise, they're going to have to take 2 in a row. Zach Fontaine looks for no-look, doesn't find him. And that's the refrag. That's going to leave 404 all by himself. 20 seconds, 4 left. Can he do it? Finds one. 13 seconds left. He's got to be on the move. There's no time for reloads. He finds 2. He does not find a 3rd, and Vikings will. A little bit of gloating there from the Vikings, possibly a little early. They do have 2 more maps to play, but a fantastic series nonetheless, as Cargo wraps with 4-1 going Vikings. Spoilty with 9 kills, Nolik with 8.
Yeah, the Vikings duo there of Nolik and Spoilty really going ham against the boys at G-Men. But, you know, it's only the first map, as we said. Who knows? Things could shake up and shake off here for the G-Men as they knock the rust off and the dust out of their eyes and come back on map 2 against Vikings.
This is going to be quite the series, folks. G-Men now on the back foot, going to have to do quite a bit of recovery work. NightFiree, what are your thoughts on that? This is I'm taking it to you because I need to get inside the head of a G-Man right now.
Yeah, they're I saw the top killers on the team, the man just not finding any kills there. I think they also had one other that was 0-5, and that's gonna hurt a lot on the G-Men side. You looked at the KD spread of Vikings and it was pretty even across the board. If you don't have everybody contributing and putting in a good KD or a good score line, it's going to be so hard to really throw up a nice even back and forth between these teams. So I think G-Men just need to get everybody online on this next map, which is going to be Bazaar.
It is indeed going to be Bazaar. I have filled that in on our scoreboard for the folks at home, and I will make sure that the score is correct for map 1. It is 4-1, going the way of Vikings. And yes, Bazaar will be our second map. So what are you guys' thoughts on this one? This is, I think, now I'm seeing G-Men on the offense again. So that leads me to believe this is a Vikings defense pick. They've chosen to be the defense on this map. Is that, I think my math is correct there.
Yeah, are Vikings the home team?
Vikings were away overall. So I wonder, because G-Men, I believe, picked into Cargo as that first map. They were on offense. Either way, it would have been a Vikings choice for the defending team, one map or the other. Right. My math may not be exactly correct on which one it was, but I would imagine G-Men would have felt comfortable enough on Cargo initially to have picked into it and start on offense. So this, looks like a Vikings defensive choice. So they will give G-Men the opportunity to start on offense first. Which way do you see this map going, Sleepy? I mean, what is your sort of what are your expectations for this? Are we gonna see another not close scoreline here?
I would hope that that's not the case. You know, obviously there's so much momentum here. Vikings obviously are very loose. You know, they're not looking like they're too tense. They're too concerned about, making sure that they're all locked in and focused. They're singing before rounds. They're celebrating after rounds. It's a very carefree environment. And if they can keep that and maintain it, I don't know if the play style, I just don't know how this is going to shake up, because it certainly could be another pretty one-sided scoreline if Vikings play like they did on Cargo.
Vikings rowing their boat down the stream here into map 2. You can hear their they are just, as NightFiree said, just having a great time. And honestly, sometimes that's the secret sauce. I am a firm proponent of the fact that the more fun you have while you play this competitive scene, the more likely you are to win. And not let that sort of stress, that indecisiveness, the sort of challenge of it all get to you, is by, just having a good old time. I think that is in no small part a factor in this. Early shots coming out from Uncle Sam onto one member of G-Men there who crossed into the back, who's at Leo Marvin.
Yeah, we don't talk a lot about it, but tilting is certainly something that happens, obviously, in these online game environments, and G-Men have to be careful not to tilt here. If they go full tilt and they allow Vikings to sort of just keep running away with this, it's not going to be good. They need to grab this first round. This is a super important round 1. And honestly, I think they need to grab the first pick. If they can't find themselves with an early kill here, Vikings have been so tight on defense and so synced up across all 5. I just don't know if it's going to be... the things have to be in G-Men's favor here if they want to grab this first round.
Yeah, they have been starting on the back foot almost every single round in Cargo, so they need to break the streak here in Bazaar. Brass was sending a few rounds down as pre-fire down to the north, but Mantis, the only one nearby. Uncle Sam also sending a bit of his own pre-fire down the way of potential offensive player, but neither connects, and 2 minutes are gone as G-Men start to get set up. If we take a look at the overhead map really briefly, they've got the right idea. I don't know if this spread, like, I'm not really feeling that whole southwest 2 people stacked up in those. I know they got one upstairs, one downstairs, but this objective, I don't know how much those 2 positions will afford you in terms of opportunity, especially not enough to double up like that. So we will see how they make that approach, but Leo Marvin making it into construction on that east side. He is the closest outside of Brass to Mouth, who is up in Kayat. He's going to have to deal with Mantis here pretty soon.
It's an interesting angle Mantis is holding, not something you typically see. He's sitting in that corner looking out into the courtyard. I don't know if Brass is going to be ready or looking. He'll probably be more checking the palm trees, and he's not ready for Mantis' angle.
And there it is. The call out comes in. G-Men again, starting off on the back foot. The remaining 4 now all approaching from the south. Brass was the only one there in the north.
Well, again, it just shows that Vikings have done their homework. They've watched tape. They know where these guys like to come from. And they've had answers for every single bit of that, and it's showed in our scoreline so far in the first map. So unless G-Men can figure something out other than what they've been using or how they've been playing, they need to change those positions up, change the routing, change the lanes, because it's not working. Vikings have answers to just about all your questions.
Yeah, this is an interesting offensive push. If this smoke does not completely explain how G-Men have been playing so far, I don't know what does. Roofing that smoke, I'm not sure what the plan was. He could have just tossed it to the side of the building and had way more success than he currently did. But the man looking here for that pick, but Uncle Sam not going to commit to that angle. Ooh, a little bit of C4 going off there. A little bit early. No one gets caught out by it, but Zach Fontaine is finally here on the inside. He's just waiting for Uncle Sam to peek this barrier here.
It's closest, Gav.
And now he's been called out by Nolik. So there is some information. Vikings know they're closing in. Uncle Sam making that peek. Zach Fontaine not there to try to get that frag. And Mantis will find 404 as he makes that approach through the actual bazaar. And that is 2 out as they come through. Minute and 20 left. G-Men here have to find something.
Oh, if Uncle Sam does that peek over top of that wall again, he's going to be dead meat to either Zach Fontaine or the man. Zach's now actually watching it a bit, so he knows someone's in there.
There is 60 seconds left on this clock, and the man is still just crawling up, just trying to. Yeah, this is not the time to take your time. They've got to start moving. They've got to coordinate and push in together. Uncle Sam.
The call came in from Dr. Leo Marvin, though, so they should be fine, and you can see the action started moving since.
Zach Fontaine pushing the way that 404 did, likely going to meet his fate, but I'm going to stay here with Leo Marvin and Uncle Sam having to deal with the man. Uncle Sam rounding the corner, does find one. The man not ready, and Uncle Sam finds another, and that's 2 gone. Zach Fontaine, the last one left. 26 seconds. He rushes the corner. Mantis can't find him as he pushes in, but then finally The bullets do land, and Zach Fontaine is down and out. All 5 Vikings still alive.
Yeah, that's I think we're gonna see another. Yeah, I think we're gonna see another pretty one-sided scoreline here, and I mean that's gonna be it for this first set. If Vikings take this, we don't go with the best of 3. It's done. Vikings win.
So wait, did Vikings give up map pick on the second map?
That is what it.
Side?
Yeah, that is exactly what it looks like. They either did that on the first or this map, but either way, they did it.
Well, I think on the first map it would have been home pick.
That's It was definitely G-Men picking cargo. That's my assumption. So this definitely looks like Vikings opting to be the defenders, and for good reason. I mean, clearly their defense is carrying them here.
Well, it's definitely got them their consistent points. That's for sure. But yeah, they're definitely playing a hard turtle defense. They're not trying to give up any unnecessary points. I mean, their defensive rounds can be aggressive, but are still somewhat, reserved in a way.
It's almost like G-Men are getting overwhelmed by these different angles that Vikings are taking. They're just somehow not prepared for the Mantis position downstairs in the back of Coyote. They're not ready for the one over in East. It's just they're getting caught off guard pretty consistently throughout this series. Cargo, they're getting picked off as they try and look for angles. It's just been a nonstop struggle for this G-Men team to try and find footing with this against this Viking squad.
Yeah, and you can sort of feel it in their spawn, in G-Men spawn. It's very quiet. I'm not used to hearing G-Men this reserved. Usually at least a little bit of action, so they're definitely feeling the pressure as Vikings have taken it to them in quite a few series of rounds. We'll see if they can stop the bleeding a little bit here, as Vikings, they do get that mirrored spawn, so not quick spawn, southwest spawn. Mantis already here in Coyote. See if the man hears him and has to deal with him, or if Mantis can kind of creep by here. The man's position is more advanced, looking for that southern push.
Just the positioning right now from Vikings is in my opinion, a lot better than the attempt from G-Men. The way that they've stacked 3 here up by Coyote, they're pushing forward so much faster than G-Men 2. Mantis already up into Coyote bottom floor, and he's going to be trying to push the man soon enough.
I mean, he could probably just circumvent Coyote entirely. There's no need to engage with it if you can just walk past it. If he can take down, Brass to Mouth and or Leo with some help, that is a pretty open objective. The 404 is really the only other one that is close enough to stop a quick cap attempt. Check in here with Mantis as he's continuing his peak. So, I mean, they're just allowing their teammates to get set up. You can see the offense constricting slowly from this west side. Mantis now upstairs. The man will be ready for him. And there it is. The first pick goes the way of G-Men. Man's position there. Finally catching the Vikings off guard, I think, for the first time.
One on Charlie stairs.
All out there from Spoilty does give away the man, but I don't think it really matters. Honestly, that call out has no bearing on whether or not the man is in trouble. You have still got to unseat him before you start to push in.
To your point, they could ignore him. His angles that he's holding are really just him inside this Coyote.
Microscopic angles.
Just a little bit of pre-fire, and Nolik is gonna find one in Brass to Mouth as he makes the peek through the crack. This is, I don't think I've seen anybody get a kill through this little this little crack.
I've seen a couple get it.
I mean, recently I have not seen any. The man is gonna find another. Kroorzi. Now the man's position definitely a lot more impactful than we had given it credit for.
Yeah, he's holding up all the Vikings. They got Uncle Sam and Spoilty up here in the north struggling. They got Nolik now, who's going to be a little concerned about pushing through this center position. So in a bit of a reversal to what we were seeing on Cargo with Spoilty, the man here is certainly being that one-man defending threat right now.
Yeah, Uncle Sam downstairs. He just heard a couple of rounds come in from the man upstairs. Is he going to try and push it, though? He is. He's going to go up the staircase. Ooh, the man, though, going to keep him down, but they know he's there. I'd expect a grenade. There's one coming out. Flash. Nope. Nollik going to find the backside of the man from outside in the courtyard. Uncle Sam up there, just a triple-double, quadruple check.
That's such good teamwork from the Vikings to double team him there. You know, they had one come upstairs. They had Nollik watching that window. I'm sure they had the other player also watching a window as well when they were coming out. So very nicely done there.
Zach Fontaine getting a little too aggressive in the north, and Spoilty will be ready for him as he makes that push around. Now Nollik here. Man, he is speedy already on this southeast corner. Going to try to deal with 404's position. I can't imagine 404 did not hear him as he pushed up that street. So we'll see if he's ready for him. He's not really giving him any credit yet, but Nollik is backing off a little bit, maybe going for that eastern approach, as there are only 2 members of the defense left, Vikings with 3. Leo Marvin on a tight angle here in the defense, just looking for anybody pushing through that north alley, and 404 on the cross section. Leo Marvin will find that eastern approach as Nollik tried to come through the courtyard in construction, but was shut down briskly by that long angle from Leo. There are 2 members of Vikings left, and they are within striking distance. There's 60 seconds left. Spoilty's going to be the first one.
Yeah, he's got 404 to worry about. I got a wonderful little angle on his angle. Spoilty makes his way up. If there's no smokes left on the Marsoc team, it's going to be a very tough push for them on this objective. They're going to either have to draw fire and distract, or they're going to have to put out some sort of, visual coverage. Dr. Leo Marvin and Uncle Sam right around the corner from each other, it appears, getting ready to tangle into it, and the smokes come out on the objective. Now, who's going to come out? Dr. Leo will find Uncle Sam, and that'll work in G-Men's favor as they hope to get their round here, and they do, as 404 catches Spoilty from the garage. And G-Men tie things up here on our second map. It looks like G-Men might be coming alive here.
That was a far better defense than I have seen so far. I mean, we've only seen a couple of them. That cargo round went so quickly. But that first G-Men defense is starting to feel right. That starts to feel like the G-Men that we should have been seeing all along in this series. The man definitely making an impact beyond just his kills, just sort of his presence in that Kayat, the way he was able to command it for so long, really put Vikings, up against a wall of time as they ran out towards the end and had to make that sort of frenetic push. A little disconnected, but honestly, I think G-Men had it in hand regardless. I don't think there was enough utility left over to really cause the kind of havoc they would have wanted.
Ooh, this next objective makes me wonder what we're going to see out of these 2 very coordinated teams. That's Central Southern Bazaar or Humvee objective here in the south. Makes for great teamwork plays because they basically have to, with it being kind of such an open objective.
Yeah, this is definitely going to lend itself to some interesting plays, but they are going to have to be in top form. NightFiree, do you think they're starting to hit their stride? I mean, is that indicative of the G-Men you would more expect to see?
I don't know. It was still pretty close. I honestly felt going into the series that G-Men will be playing how Vikings have been. I was anticipating that scoreline to be 4-1 G-Men, and then for them to take this first round, but I don't know. The world's upside down for me right now. I don't know what to anticipate. Maybe we'll see a central push from G-Men. It is one of the more dangerous and tougher ones to overall defend, although we do see a little bit of a C4 toss there, getting put out to defend from that frontal push if the smokes do come in.
That is it's such an exposed C4, but also one that you would probably never look for. That is
the only way you're going to really see it is when you, I guess there's 1 or 2 angles you can check, but it does have that little cement barrier to sort of deny vision from the center for a lot of the angles that you would take up. So It could, but yeah, it's in the middle of the street, right?
Yeah.
But who's looking at the floor when they cross
Exactly.
the street?
Especially as they push towards the objective building, like
Well,
the floor is
yeah.
kind of the last place you're looking, especially in the street. Like maybe once you turn to look inside the house, you're going to be looking at the floor to make sure no one's prone. But in the middle of the street, we're I don't know. Yeah, it's brazen.
Well, what's interesting about it, what just came to mind is when the offense makes their push, usually that area has smokes
Smoke,
all
right?
over it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
that
I was
could
kinda
just
thinking
be
that too.
the offense playing into the defense's hands potentially. It could be a huge pickup. But we'll see. C4s have been a little hit or miss lately. We did find, or we did have the man go down to 1 in cargo. They've not impacted the game too much just yet.
You know, we might see a delayed central push here. It looks like 404 and Leo have positioned themselves to just kind of peek and look for angles. No one's pushing forward in this center, and all 5 are here. So I think we got to get ourselves ready for like a 10 smoke central push.
Yeah, I absolutely agree until Brass to Mouth goes down there to Uncle Sam as he takes his own little peek. But yeah, here we go. It's a smoke parade out there in the street, and this could be where the C4 gets it as long as Vikings time it right. I was gonna say my only concern with their team is spacing for the grenade play if Vikings decide to chuck them, but no, here we go. The play's on. 404 and Dr. Leo Marvin are a bit out front here. They aren't ready for Mantis on the backside. Mantis finds Zach Fontaine.
That C4 does come into play as 404 gets taken down, and a fantastic little defensive angle there from the east finds 1. There is a res coming out onto Zach Fontaine. Now they're crossing the street, but the call-out's still coming out from that defender down, and Uncle Sam will find 2 in Zach Fontaine and Leo Marvin, leaving just the man to deal with 4 Vikings.
He's about to go down. As soon as the smoke clears, they'll have an eye on him, and there's the shots out from Krorzy. He manages to get away, but he's not going to get by 2. Spoilty finds the man, and Vikings grab their second defensive round.
Wow. Yeah, that was just a perfect counter from Vikings. You know, the smoke play was obviously there for a G-Men. They had it coordinated, all 5 alive on the cross, but then Nalik waiting for it to happen. The C4 waiting for it to happen. Mantis on that south side peeking through the wall, waiting for it to happen. I mean, it was just they just didn't get the right smokes they needed, and then they pushed on the left side. They had all of the smoke strength on that right alley where they could have pushed up with relatively little conflict, and instead they opt to go around. They run into Nalik, they run into Mantis, and they just have a much harder time getting up and pushing through the defensive line of Vikings.
It was one of those plays that felt like oh crap, we lost one, let's go. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like it felt like there was
Like they jump started.
Yeah, like there was like 2 minutes still left in their game plan, and then they lost when they're like, oh well, screw it, let's just go. And that's kind of what it felt like, just sort of whatever, we'll
like
deal
a
with it as we
false
go.
start in a race.
It was not exactly, I think, what would have been drawn up as the plan. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't feel like that was the plan.
Yeah, even man down, it seemed like the pair in the back, the 2 that had to fight their way across the street from the eastern flanker, they weren't up to speed. Like it sounded like they got the call a little late and were like, oh, so we're going. Okay, now we're catching up. Our 2 front guys have already made it across the street under fire. Now we're the last 2 guys. Our chances of making it aren't very strong, and they did lose one. Luckily, I think it was Zach Fontaine was able to turn it around and get the res, but they end up going right back down anyways there at the end.
You know, I've been highlighting how G-Men's performance here is unexpected from me, but Vikings have been playing very good today. They are, you know, they're loose, they're landing their shots, they're finding early picks so consistently. They're looking very good, and you know, if they go up against SMC or beginners, they're going to be a tough battle for one of those teams tomorrow.
Yeah, they really are. Oh my goodness, man, our finals tomorrow is going to be insane.
Yeah, I'm not going to count G-Men out. I mean, I think I did pick into Vikings here, but I'm going to give G-Men a little bit of time to get going. I have definitely played against them several times, and they have surprised in the second and third map. But if there's a time to surprise, this will be it, because they need to continue getting these defensive wins. They cannot lose a single one. And then they'll need to find at least one offense to try to seal the deal. And so far, that has been looking very unlikely.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to be seeing the end of a round time soon, unless the G-Men decide to get real ballsy and go out and on the hunt and manage to find all 5 Vikings, because Vikings taking their time, their spacing is actually fantastic. I think they've all got pretty good refrag angles on their closest wingman. So yeah, I think the push is good. It's just a matter of timing. If they can get this into position ready to strike in like the next minute, I think it would be a good time for them to do a similar type play to what G-Men pulled, where they kind of just smoke heavy and press in. And then if it didn't work, they'd still have time to work with. But I have a feeling we're going to see a little bit more of this clock timeout before the Vikings actually strike. But I do think it's going to be tough. I like the positioning of the G-Men. They know what they're doing on this defense. They've played this objective thousands upon thousands of times before. So we'll see what the Vikings bring to this table that allows them to say, we are the better team here today.
Yeah, this is the CDD, the cap defense.
Yeah.
This is the we do not want to be more than 5 seconds away from anywhere where anybody can cap from. The only exception there is 404 watching that east, looking and listening, I imagine, for anybody trying to do any sort of cheeky plays. Zach Fontaine will be the first one to find a pick as Uncle Sam exposes himself up in Kayat and gets punished for it.
That will help the Vikings, though. It will give them somewhat of an idea of where Zach is or which direction to be kind of focused on as they exit that western block. You've seen a little bit of exchange of fire there between Mantis and Spoilty and some of the members. And as we said, there's Zach Fontaine as he rotates around upstairs in his killing position. He gets taken down by Spoilty.
2 by kill room.
I mean, now there's pressure coming into Brastamouth's room from Mantis and Spoilty there. They know these positions. They know where these defenders are just from shots and likely from tape study and experience. They know where to be sending these rounds down, and a nice little nade there. Not quite gonna get it. Would have been a pretty amazing shot to make it inside that window, but a pretty good attempt nonetheless. And the return nade comes out, will be good enough to find the down onto Nolik, and that's gonna force a rotation from the Vikings that they may not have wanted as the smokes start rolling out there. We're going to start making this west push. Now they've got to back Spoilty off, try to get that res.
I'll say those Vikings are pretty darn good with those smoke placements.
I'm surprised Mantis didn't grab that one and redirect a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little surprised myself, but I think he was more worried about dying in that split second he lets his hand off the weapon, I
mean, is that not just exactly how this game is?
That is life in this game, yes. Every time you take your peek away for just a second, and Dr. Leo Marvin might get taken down here from Mantis as he's got him top. He does. He finds one. Spoilty manages to get the res, and Brastamouth going to try and back away out into the open where he's going to get found by Corsi. Just a bad look. Unfortunately, Mantis going to go in. He's going to find the backside of the man, and the Vikings are on the cap.
This is it. This is going to be it. 404's not going to find this.
Wow.
Oh, they killed another train.
Oh, hold the gun.
Vikings.
Cruorzi, hold the gun. Just take the death. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Poor Vikings. That could have been map 2 wrapped up nicely in a little 4.
Map 2, that would have been series.
Yeah.
That's them going to the finals right there if they get that cap. So G-Men, by the skin of their teeth, so
By
lucky.
the skin of someone else's teeth.
Yeah.
By the skin on their chinny chin chin.
That was an unbelievable. They had to have called out that there was a cap coming. Like, somebody had to have been clicking radio, right? Cruorzi.
There were 3 people in there, so somebody had to have clicked a radio, right?
I would be absolutely shocked.
Right? We're having fun. We're having fun.
Cruorzi is going to be hearing a lot about that if G-Men can find their way back to tie this series up in this next offensive play they've got to make. But I don't know. It's still a tall order. It's not like it's been that close of a series that this would be, that detrimental. But I don't know. Anything can happen.
It's onward, baby. We've seen bigger comebacks.
You know, this is an objective where if you lose sight of your defense and you sort of just let go a little bit, this cap, there's all sorts of different angles to punch in the code from here. So a couple of good smokes, maybe G-Man. I mean, I don't know. To be thinking cap at this point when you're literally your whole season is on the line is definitely very gutsy, but if they want to tie things up and get back in it, it's an option.
I think it's cherry on top of the cake that will be their play. You know what I mean? Like, that is just the bonus if they can cause the confusion they need. But I'm gonna be the first one to say it. They're not gonna cause the kind of confusion they need. They need to do this on kills, and they need to do this coordinated if they want to stay in it.
I say go for caps or go home.
That's a true dangler right there. That's a dangler through and through. If you're not going for cap, why are you even playing? Is the mantra there.
I mean, it is the objective, is it not? Are we not?
No, if you're PTFOing, I do agree that playing the freaking objective is the goal, but I don't know. In the postseason, you've got to be conservative to a point where you're not just throwing it away because you want 2 points. You know, you want.
Of course, no. You can't just like send 6 people running down a street or 5 people just running down an open street, no smokes or anything. Like, oh, we're just gonna bum rush them on the objective and it's gonna work and we'll get a cap to save your ass or your butt here in the championships. But yeah, I mean that's what it. Sometimes it does take guts to get those comebacks. Like right now, if they were to get it safely, you know, they're down. They know they've got their kill counts right. They know the defenders are off objective. They've got the place. They've got quick cappers on their team, so they can definitely do it quickly once they get there. It puts them in a tie in a tie game here in their do or die map, right? So you got to think that they'll be willing to go for it if it pulls them back. It'll help them be a little bit more comfortable too, because they'll go back onto defense and can try and turtle up to get that last point on the map and take us to our series 3rd map.
Yeah, they need. I think putting G-Men on defense is best case to try to win this. I don't think G-Men are gonna win on an offensive round. I'm just gonna call it right there. They're gonna need the defensive advantage. If this is a G-Men win here, and they end up taking their next defense, I don't know that they can do it on their next offense. You know, I don't think that 4th point is going to come from an offense. But anything can happen, and we are 2.5 minutes in. There is very little contact. No, like, really just sending the pre-fire down. Brass rushing the corner does find Spoilty, and the advantage now going the way of G-Men here. It's exactly what they need, but they need to keep... stay frosty. They need to stay frosty with these movements. Krorzy, they're reaching for his radio, making the clicks, the communication coming in. Uncle Sam here might be the one that finds Brass. I don't think Brass will be ready for this peek. He's not. Uncle Sam evens things out very quickly.
And man, Zach Fontaine, as he was kind of pushing with a bit of smoke draw, he kind of backs off, but it seems like the push is coming off on the west now. We got smokes coming and raining in now, in fact, from the G-Men. It seems like they're going to try and push that south market entrance, but they're going to get caught out in the open by Krorzy. It's just a free-for-all over here.
It's a bloodbath. It is an absolute bloodbath. Those smokes had no coverage on the cross. I can't believe that they decided to push based on that smoke coverage.
They maybe thought that Brass's smoke that he tossed, which he was supposed to toss, would cover that angle, but he got shot before he could get it a long enough distance, and so the coverage is not there on this west lane, and it's detrimental to this G-Men push. And now they back off and rotate around on a really long rotation with 2 minutes left. They're going to be pressed for time when they get to the center.
Oh, Dr. Leo Marvin losing a mag there. You're going to need that for the battle ahead, my friend, as you got 2 minutes left. 2v4 here.
Oh, man, this rotation.
I mean, this is wishful thinking at its best.
I get it. They're gonna draw the attention over to that south side and then try and push from the north. but they're going to have like 30 seconds to do it when they get into position.
To their credit, the North is wide open. There's no one there.
Right, that's what I mean. It's a good idea right now, but they just have to make it happen in the time they have left.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a what, 40-second run to the objective? You've got maybe 40 seconds left when you get there if you're at full sprint
what
right
are
now.
they thinking? This is not the way you want to do it.
We say that now. We'll see. They're going to have 30 seconds to fight.
And Vikings the whole time are just like they're turning and they're changing their angles up. So the more time this takes, the more time Vikings have to determine which direction they're coming from. And look, they're pushing one north now, the check, and he's probably gonna find one.
I mean, this is awareness at its best.
I mean, this is exactly what you want to see out of a defense. Like,
oh, the man's in trouble. Oh,
Mantis. Oh, he's made a lot of noise though. Ooh.
Wow.
So he does. He shuts it down on the man. Now Zach Fontaine's got to, or Dr. Leo Marvin's got to cut his way in to the west side. And Mantis is ready for that.
That's
or Nalik is ready for that, and that's it. Vikings are going to take our first round of the semifinals here on Onward Master League. Wow. What an impressive series from them.
Yeah, that was incredible. Taking a look at the kill counts there before they all disappear. Mantis and Uncle Sam finding 6. Spoilty and Corsi with 4, and I mean, G-Men had a smattering of kills, but really, obviously, that 4-1 scoreline shining through overall. Yeah, that was the first round of our semifinals. So let's talk about it. We won't be doing a third map as there is no MMR on the line here. None of that comes into play in the postseason. Sleepy, we'll start with you. Thoughts on the outcome of that match?
Based on the play in that match, no. Vikings, they did exactly as their play should have done, which is won quite handedly. I don't know what was going on with G-Men there. Like, I'm really kind of dumbfounded at their play there. I expected a lot more precision, but I feel like maybe they fell back on some older tactics that they've used throughout the season. And as we mentioned a few times, Vikings just seemed ready for all of it. G-Men had questions, Vikings had answers, and boy, did they have answers.
It looked like a bit of a unprepared G-Men, or maybe a G-Men that underestimated the Vikings squad. You know, maybe just not coming in with that sort of mentality that they would have if they were facing off against Globochem in the regular season, you know? And I think that probably lends itself to these teams not facing off very often. G-Men don't have didn't have the opportunity to play Vikings very much in this season 8 or at all, really. And so to sort of, if anything, it looked to me like G-Men just underestimated Vikings and were not ready for Vikings to be this strong today, and the scoreline shows.
Yeah, it was not as close as I think some of us had anticipated, and I do agree that the G-Men came into it, I don't want to say half-cocked, it has almost too negative of a connotation, but I feel like they came in underprepared. I mean, underprepared I think really captures the essence. They made some silly calls, but on the other hand, Vikings just kept surprising them round after round after round. There were surprising kills that I don't think the G-Men were ready for. And I don't know, sometimes it's just not your day. And that is going to take the first round down for us here today. But we do have another round coming up very soon here in SMC versus Beginners. We are going to take a short intermission because that game was slated to start pretty quickly after this one, but we're going to give the teams a little bit of time to prep, and then we're going to get ourselves ready, and we will be back with SMC and Beginners, let's call it in no less than 40 minutes. That should be just about the time the stream will go live, but stick around. Don't go anywhere. We have got a ton of Onward action still to go in the second round of semis.